Hello, update time again. I know this year has been a pretty sparse one regarding videos I've produced, namely after I've turned 30. I've been busy, not with the stuff I'd prefer to be busy with. Before I say anything else, I will say that I do have a script for another video in the works. After doing two underappreciated character videos in a row, one topic I decided I wanted to talk about is centered on an underappreciated scene from a widely beloved movie. And the biggest hint that I will give you for the time being is that it is a Disney/Pixar movie. This was an especially difficult year for me, and the cherry on top of it thus far was that I pushed myself through the holiday craze going around in the business that I work in, only to end up having to stay home sick all by myself for Thanksgiving. Though my cats didn't mind that, especially with all my running around all over the place in the days preceding the holiday. As you know, I've been watching As you know, if you've been watching my update videos, I've faced no shortage of hardships and personal struggles in my time, even before I started making YouTube videos regularly. I've had episodes of being bottom of the barrel / borderline suicidal and and being in critical states of depression. Yet something about this year just made it feel like my longest, poorest, most grueling year thus far. And I don't know if it could have been that I just set myself hoping that this new decade in my life would be the start of a new chapter where I could really get into turning my life around and getting to where I want to go. But with certain personal thoughts occupying a specific space in my head for such a long time, even going into darker places and frequently coming back to those places no matter what I tried to get away from them. And I've tried a lot of different methods that work to varying degrees, but my self-assurance was wearing thin, and I could never quite figure out if whatever these specific thoughts were, if they were trying to tell me something. I couldn't even help but ponder at some points if I had OCD or not. But even when I wasn't pondering that, I would find myself getting stuck in thought patterns and pumped up with the worst kinds of emotions that I feared would transform me into somebody I don't want to become. As I also found myself starting to confront thoughts that I never thought I would think. Thoughts like how I wish I didn't have autism or ADHD so that I didn't feel these constant barrages of pain and overstimulation. And even though I have talked about why I'm not ashamed to be autistic and why I wouldn't change that aspect about me for anything. And the big, I would say that the biggest thing that can be attributed to the difficulties I've been facing is starting a new day job at the start of this year, working in retail. I applied to it earlier this year, hoping that it would be a step up from my previous job as a gas station attendant. And while I did trade up in a few ways, it does come with certain benefits like paid sick hour for every week you work, paid day off for every 7 months, and a paid vacation week for every 13 months. Those benefits are minimal, namely reserved for those working in the business full-time, understandably. But even recently, one full-time employee recently got called in on what was supposed to be his day off, and when he had just gotten sick, no less, to come in and get yelled at for something that the manager inspectors took issue with in the store. So yeah, it seems like no employee is safe in the store, despite it being a unionized business. And it's been a difficult one to adapt to because the environment is consistently changing, the pay isn't sustainable for me, work schedules are different each week, and all anyone else can talk about is how miserable they are in that job and how they just want to be done for the day. There's a saying that goes that the only thing worse than being alone is being surrounded by people who make you feel alone. So yeah, for months there have been those red flags popping up suggested to me that before I was employed in this business for even a year, little more than half of a year in fact, I would need an exit strategy. So I have been looking for another job to transition to, and I found that some openings that looked like it might be a good fit that had a whole host of greater benefits, just when the results looked pretty promising that there might be a position available for me in it, I was turned down. It felt like just another opportunity ripped away from me this year, and now I'm back stuck in the same position I was at the beginning, with no way to advance forward near where I want to be. I've made very little money as an artist this year, and I've actually made very little in the way of personal projects. Part of it was because a big part of it did have to do with uh, my work schedule. I have been constantly searching for art opportunities this year, they've but a lot of them, I would say at least half of them have been misses. And so I've gone through periods lately questioning if I will ever be happy in my state of light. Ever since I started going to school, my thought process has always been, this is not where I want to be. I need to push through and get to the next stage. And then getting to points like this where I started questioning whether those past years were my best and I left them behind me. Am I just someone who is incapable of appreciating what I have in front of me? That's yeah. As much as I try to put up, as I as much as I do my best to put on an optimistic persona, try to be that positive form of infectious towards other people, be a good voice of influence. I keep trying to think. I keep trying to think to myself that I don't need a whole lot in life to be content. Yes, there's the idea that happiness is a choice, and I can agree with that. You shouldn't depend on having the perfect career, the perfect family, just or the perfect house or whatever you can think of. You don't Your life doesn't have to be perfect to be happy. However, there is also the saying that I've also heard that says 5 to 10 years from now, be sure that you're in a place where you can say I chose my life rather than I settled for it. And I think that was nearly 10 years ago when I first saw that quote. Not helped by some other things going on in the world. I know there's been plenty that has happened in the real world, but I've been running around on my own hamster wheel so much that I've scarcely had time or energy to keep up with what's been going on in the news. Not to say I don't really care about what's going on in the news. I know there's plenty of injustice, plenty of things like there's still war, genocide, persecution, all those horrible things going on. So I definitely am trying to avoid being just uh, I definitely want to avoid starting any pity me narratives. I mean, I'm no stranger to the world of art and entertainment, and the writers and actors strike has taken up nearly half the year. It has been frustrating to see, uh, to constantly see people like actors, writers, or even animators, anybody who brings any form of your beloved piece of media to life, constantly getting screwed over. The strike took up nearly half the year, and the responses from all the CEOs, or just about every major corporation or streaming service you can think of, further supported the image of capitalism being this evil, villainous force. Some projects getting delayed or canceled, while the announcements of others get pushed forward relentlessly, like how there's already been a fourth Frozen movie announced before even a third one got made. Like it's reportedly supposed to be a second half of a two-parter after the third movie. But then there's things like how even being blown away after coming out of a screening for Across the Spider-Verse, that enthusiasm was quickly shattered by the coming out of the article called Death by a Thousand Paper Cuts, which revealed how Phil Lord and Chris Miller, despite being hailed as one of the greatest creative duos in the animation and entertainment business, they have just a they their methods for creating films, not just Spider-Verse, but their whole legacy of films has actually been full of dangerous and toxic practices that just make people not want to work for them. And at least on the upside, I did go see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, and I can take comfort in the fact that it's been publicly disclosed that it did have a healthy work environment that prioritized the well-being of the people making it, and the result was just as amazing as Spider-Verse, or pretty close, and it proves that a good movie, show, game, or whatever you need is possible to make without being at the expense or the well-being of those who brought the expense of the well-being of those who brought it to life. But another thing that made this year especially painful was that this was the year I officially decided to cut my future ties with Disney. I unsubscribed from Disney Plus. The big deciding factor of that for me was Bob Iger's response to the strike. Even if the strike has been settled, there's no remorse. He's expressed no remorse on his part, and at least not openly. So I'm sure he would still be happy to do whatever he could to sidestep properly compensating the people who work for him. But other than that, while I did enjoy some of the Disney Plus exclusives, it wasn't enough to keep me paying month after month, especially when other movies and shows they offered were available for purchase or rent, even from my local library, or even available to watch online for free, as well as how Bob Iger has removed a lot of Disney Plus original content early this year, so there's no way left to watch them. I don't really like being one who says that Disney isn't what it used to be. I know that they've gone through rough times before, but I've only become convinced at this point that it doesn't really seem to me like they don't want to be better, or if they do, it's entirely for the wrong reasons. I haven't seen the latest Disney film Wish yet. I'm not in a huge hurry to see it. I was aiming to catch it on the big screen simply because the Disney animated short Once Upon a Studio has been getting heaps of praise from those who have seen it, and it was expected to show in front of screenings of Wish like it did with the re-release of Moana earlier this year. But those plans got scrapped after the short aired on ABC, so there that goes. I have seen the trailer for Inside Out 2, and not gonna lie, it did impress me. With how the trailer has garnered so many likes and views, the movie is most certainly going to be a huge financial hit. Regarding the matter, though, of how all of these new emotions joining the main five as Riley transitions to her teens, while her mom and dad and everybody else for that matter only have the five emotions, as seen in the first movie, well, that's for the Super Carlin brothers to make a video of discussing, which they already did. I don't like making update videos just to wallow in self-pity. If I wanted to do that, I would just disappear off of social media altogether and just stay in bed until I had to go to work. It would save me time, it would save me on my electrical bills, and it would save me storage space on my computer. Besides, what would that be to my watchers but a complete waste of their time? No, the real reason I make these videos at these points when I just feel I have no energy left, these work as my little catalog for later down the line, for me to look back on and recall, yes, this is the stage that I was in at that point, and that way, whatever the next critical transition in my life, be it of my own choosing or whatever, I have a way to look back and remember exactly what I was thinking, and if I made any major life-changing decisions, what exactly influenced them. What ways did I fail? What ways did I fail on that and need to do better on for next time? Or what ways did I succeed in that I need to? What ways did I succeed, and what can I take from that to help incorporate into my regular practice? I guess the big takeaway from this is that your low points are just as much a part of your journey as your high points. Even if you don't have something like special talents or are neurodivergent, you are still an amazing human being just for having the strength to get up the next morning and the will to find something to do with your life the next day, as long as it's not just to serve yourself. And without a doubt, the best thing making these update videos allows me to do is stay in touch with all of you, my beloved watchers. So I'm wishing you well, if not the best, for the holidays. I hope feel free to let me know how your Thanksgiving was and how your journey into to the Christmas holidays and the New Year is going so far. And I'll talk to you soon. Take care.